My guest tonight is a husband, father, military veteran, and activist. He has 3 dogs, 2 kids, and lives in Southern California. He is also the Duke of Sussex. Please welcome to The Late Show, Prince Harry.
Is this the spare?
That's the spare.
That's the spare.
Yeah, exactly.
Prince Harry walked into the Late Show studio that night, expecting a straightforward conversation about mental health. What he got instead was 18 minutes of psychological warfare that nobody in that room will ever forget. Stephen Colbert opened pleasantly enough, though anyone who watches his show regularly would have caught the edge buried underneath the charm. He questioned whether Harry and Meghan had transformed personal suffering into a profitable enterprise, pointing to the Netflix deals, the Spotify contract, the memoir packed with family secrets. Harry held his ground, deflecting with practiced composure. But Colbert wasn't interested in composure. He pushed harder, accusing Harry of craving the very media attention he publicly condemned. "You can't play the victim and court the cameras at the same time," Colbert told him flatly. Harry pushed back, arguing that his critics fundamentally misunderstood what he and Meghan were trying to build. That the work was never about money. It was about reaching people who were suffering through the same things they had survived. People who had nowhere else to turn and nobody willing to speak honestly about what they were going through. The audience shifted in their seats. Something was changing in the room. Then Colbert invoked the Queen. He asked Harry how a woman who served 70 years without once airing a single grievance in public would feel watching her grandson monetize the family's dysfunction. The audience audibly gasped. Harry's composure didn't just slip. It broke. His voice dropped to something low and dangerous. "Don't bring my grandmother into this," he warned. "You didn't know her. You have no right to speak about what she would think." Colbert didn't flinch. He told Harry that the Queen represented everything he had walked away from: duty, discretion, service over self. That comparison landed like something physical. Harry gripped the chair and fired back, reminding Colbert that he had served 2 tours in Afghanistan while the host was here making punchlines about politicians. He asked what Colbert had actually done, besides tear people apart for a living. He told him that at least the work he was doing was trying to make something better in the world, not simply tearing down what already existed for the entertainment of a studio audience. Colbert laughed. Cold, precise. He said he asked questions the powerful didn't want answered. Like why a man who says he wants privacy has spent 3 consecutive years chasing headlines. Like why someone who talks constantly about protecting mental health seems comfortable dismantling his own family's peace in the process. The hypocrisy, Colbert argued, wasn't subtle. It was the entire foundation of Harry's public identity, and everyone watching could see it clearly, even if Harry refused to. The studio fell so quiet you could hear the equipment humming. Harry stood up. His body language had stopped being television-friendly entirely. He told Colbert this was harassment, that this kind of predatory targeting was the same force that had destroyed his mother. The word Diana landed in the room like a grenade. For one brief moment, even Colbert seemed to register the weight of it. Then he leaned forward and twisted the blade anyway, suggesting Harry was using Diana as a shield, pulling out her memory whenever criticism got too close to land. "She died in a car accident," Colbert said, "not from press coverage." What happened next stunned everyone present. Harry's face went completely white, then flushed deep red. He told Colbert he had no right to minimize what happened to her. That sitting in a comfortable chair, building a career off other people's misery, didn't give him the authority to tell Harry how to grieve his own mother. That some losses don't heal, they just become something you learn to carry, and no television host gets to decide how that carrying should look. Colbert replied that he wasn't telling Harry how to grieve. He was pointing out the difference between genuine persecution and manufactured victimhood. Diana faced real intrusion. Harry, he argued, invites it every time and then calls foul when the coverage isn't flattering. The distinction, Colbert insisted, was one Harry had never been willing to honestly confront. Then Colbert said something that crossed every remaining line. He told Harry he was just like his father. Weak. Entitled. Unable to absorb any criticism. The difference, he said, was that Charles had at least waited until he was king before revealing his true character. Harry's hands formed fists. His voice came out barely above a whisper, but it cut through the entire room. "What did you just say to me?" Colbert repeated it, added that Harry's tantrum had started while the Queen was still alive, while Charles at least had the decency to wait. Harry told him he was sitting in an ivory tower judging people whose lives he couldn't begin to understand. Colbert countered that Harry had been handed everything, traded it for a Hollywood life, and had spent years complaining about the bargain he himself had made. He pointed to William, still serving, still present, no drama. The comparison ignited something in Harry that the whole conversation had been building toward. "Don't bring my brother into this," Harry said, his voice rising. Colbert shot back immediately. If the relationship was as solid as Harry claimed, where was William? Why the silence when the racism allegations surfaced? Why no public defense when it mattered most? Harry called him a pathetic excuse for a journalist, someone who uses comedy as armor so he can say things that would destroy him in any other context. A coward who attacks people at their lowest and labels it accountability. Colbert told him he had monetized vulnerability better than anyone alive, that the trauma had become a product, packaged and sold with exceptional efficiency. Harry slammed his hand on the desk hard enough to send the coffee mug jumping and liquid spreading across everything beneath it. He said he had come expecting a professional. He had found a bully instead. That this wasn't journalism. This was sadism. The word landed in the studio like a verdict, and nobody in that room seemed willing to argue against it. He ripped his microphone off. The feedback screeched through the speakers. He told the room and the cameras and everyone watching that this right here was exactly what had made their lives unbearable. That Colbert represented everything broken about modern media. Then he turned and started walking. Colbert called after him, "Running again, Harry? Like you ran from your duties? Like you ran from your family?" Harry stopped. Turned one final time. He said the difference between them was simple. When he saw someone struggling, he tried to help them. When Colbert saw someone struggling, he kicked them and called it comedy. History, Harry said, would remember which side of that line each of them stood on. And no amount of ratings or applause would change what that record looked like when it was finally written honestly. He turned back toward the exit. Colbert couldn't let it end there. He called across the studio, told Harry to give his regards to Meghan, suggested she'd have great material for the next Netflix project. Harry stopped again. His hand was already on the door. He turned back one final time, and his voice was completely calm, in a way that was far more unsettling than the rage had been. "You just made the biggest mistake of your career. This conversation is not over." The doors shut. The room didn't move. The audience sat in the kind of silence that follows something that cannot be undone. Colbert stood behind his desk, still wearing the remnants of a smirk, but visibly shaken beneath it. His attempt to joke through the aftermath landed on nobody. The jokes came out thin and hollow, like a man performing confidence he no longer felt. People were already reaching for their phones, filming, posting, sharing what they had just witnessed with anyone who would watch. Within hours, it was everywhere. Sponsors began pulling out. Celebrities canceled booked appearances. The hashtag went global. Mental health advocates and royal commentators and rival hosts all weighed in, and the verdict was nearly unanimous. Colbert had gone somewhere a late-night host should never go. And Harry, who walked out looking like a man pushed past every limit, came out of it with more public sympathy than he had generated in years. The Late Show's ratings hit their lowest point in a long time, and the question everyone kept asking was the same one nobody had a clean answer to. Where exactly does holding someone accountable end, and where does cruelty begin?